Welcome back to the laboratory. Today we're talking more knife skills. And there's been a debate online recently, what is better, a knife with or without a bolster? This little snowplow right here, typically found in forged knives. Is this the key to a great knife? Well, my opinion, I think so. I'm going to show you why. We're going to demonstrate some knife skills, get the camera nice and close, and see what we can learn. Stay tuned. All right, everyone, if you've tuned in at all over the last 8 years I've been making videos, you'll never see me use an Asian style knife, a Santoku, a Shun, any of the Asian brands, and I think they're too delicate. This is my trusty Wüsthof. I love this knife. I've had this for many years, and it's a knife that I just really think is the best knife on the market. When I bought this knife, it was $160. Right now on Wüsthof's website, they're closer to $200. So that's a major investment. If you don't want to spend that much, of course, I would recommend the Acero. And let me hold this up to the camera here. Acero, A-C-E-R-O. And these knives are 20 bucks. And they're so similar. I've made several videos of how much I just enjoy this knife for the price. I would even go as far as to say that this is a replica of the Wüsthof. I mean, they just look so similar. The only difference really being handle profile and just a couple of other small details. But the Wüsthof, that's my favorite. And what I like about it is you can see the hand craftsmanship. It's very durable. You know, in working in a pro kitchen where legitimately you might be cutting stuff in a pro kitchen 4 or 5 hours a day, carving things on the line, deep, heavy prep. You need a knife that can hold up to it. And I just don't think that the majority of the Japanese knives out there are, the thin blade Japanese knives are up to the task. I think they chip too easy, and heaven forbid you run one through the dishwasher. I've seen the handles delaminate. Just kind of a mess, as far as I'm concerned. If you like that kind of knife, remember, the best knife is the one that you have and love. So, not trying to pass judgment on anybody else's knife, just offering my opinion. All right, so why do I think the bolster, let's get back on track here. Why do I think the bolster is the best style of knife, a forged knife? So what happens is, as opposed to a stamped knife, this is a very simple construction. They stamp out the picture of a knife in steel, they sharpen it, they drill 3 holes, they rivet a blade on. Very simple. And I like this knife as well. This is a, what is this, either a Forstner or a Tornix. Gosh, they're identical. In fact, I'm almost certain they're made in the same factory. This is my knife from culinary school. 94 is when I got this knife. It's kind of fun. I still have that. Anyways, let's talk about the bolster. What I like about it is that you're consistent place to put your finger. Remember the key grip? We're holding the knife like we're holding a key that we turn left and right. And it's very consistent. I can just rest my finger right here along the bolster. And this snowplow, depending on what I'm cutting, if I'm doing different styles of cuts, the snowplow can, and oftentimes does, help evacuate food off the blade. And also offer some stiffness. And, you know, I know chefs will say, well, it's good balance. And you know what? This knife actually is really well balanced. Not that I think that it matters. The knife's only a few ounces, so you can certainly overcome the weight very easily compared to an Acero, which is just not as well balanced. I don't think it matters. It's not enough weight. Okay, so let's do some knife skills here. Dice of pepper. My knife's a little dull. Should have sharpened it before I got here, I guess. All right, I'm just gonna do a fillet cut here. Remember, fillet cut is when we pull the back of the knife off the cutting board. My hand's off the back of the cutting board. I'm going to zip out the core here. All right. So I like being able to, when I push down on the knife, I have good pressure on the knife. And particularly Wüsthof has a nice spring to it, which I think is worth the extra price. Okay, so that bolster, so I can set the knife here on the cutting board. I'm just going to move the camera slightly. Ooh, much better. Okay, so I can set the knife just off the edge here, and then I can rotate the back of the knife. And using the bolster as a guide for this kind of knife cut, I like. Okay, so here we go. Let's cut some julienne. Yeah, and food rods up the side of a knife, and you get used to it. So don't fight it. Just let it happen. Evacuate the knife, turn. Now we're going to go into a dice here. You can see here, so far, I like the spring of the knife. I think the bolster aids in the spring of a knife. And a forged knife I prefer over a stamped knife any day of the week. But if you're going to buy a forged knife, and here's really the important detail of this video. If you're going to buy a forged knife, buy a forged knife that has the bolster, that has the snowplow. The snowplow, I think, is very important. It is advanced metallurgy. It's quite a bit more construction in here. They have to have a big machine, take a hot blank and stamp this. You can see how the handle, the blade extends into the handle, and it gives you good structure compared to a stamp knife. And I like stamp knives. If I was going to go with a knife that didn't have a bolster, I wouldn't get a forged knife. They do make forged knives that don't have a bolster. There's quite a few out there. Hankels, that's the one that comes to mind. Their classic Hankels, ooh, this is nice and sharp. Their classic Hankels does not have a bolster, even though it is forged. And you can tell it's forged because the blade runs into the handle. It just doesn't have this extra nice snowplow here, which I love. In a pro kitchen, your knife's going to get abused. So having that available to help keep the knife sharp and comfortable, I think is well worth it. So what I do like about a wood handle stamp knife is because it's got a nice kind of edge where the handle ends into the blade, it feels similar. There's that consistent place right here to set that guide finger. And that consistency really aids, I think, in long days in the kitchen. A standard 12-hour day in a pro kitchen, it's nice to have somewhere to rest a finger. Okay, so this knife, gosh, I think they're probably $80 or $90 right now. You could get a plastic handle. This is a Dexter Russell plastic handle. This happens to be a 12-inch knife. This was $47. Ooh, it's nice and sharp. It still has most of its factory edge. I love that. Oh my gosh. Woo. I like a 12-inch chef's knife. Remember, a larger knife is actually safer because you have more surface area to work with. So if you're using a paring knife, a small knife, a boning knife, a rusty steak knife, a serrated knife, stop and use a large knife. If you don't own one, go on to Amazon, throw a 10-inch of Ciro into your inbox and hit buy. And it'll be here, you know how Amazon is. It'll be here in like 9 minutes. Okay, so this one's a little less comfortable for two reasons. One, the top of this blade, it's kind of got a sharp edge to it. It's not been sanded down at all. And then this doesn't have as quick as the profile, like the profile where the handle hits the blade. It's a little uncomfortable. And this is just bonded, which means glued in. So those newer shuns that I've seen that I've complained about that I don't like, I've seen the handles just slip off. And I swear the tang, the part of the handle that goes in, the blade that goes in the handles, maybe, I don't know, 1/4 inch. And it just stops and the handle just slides up right off. Ridiculous. For $100, we expect more. So if you, again, just to reiterate here, let's review. If you're going to be looking at a knife without a bolster, my recommendation is save some money and hassle. Go ahead and get yourself a stamp knife. If you're going to pay for the privilege of a forged knife, then I definitely recommend finding one that has this bolster, this snowplow. I think that that's a massive advantage. And if you're going to buy a forged knife, why not buy a forged knife that has this feature? I feel it's very important to the knife, and it's not even a matter of getting used to it. When I do peel fruit and I hold the knife with a fist grip and I work away from me, I can feel sometimes if I'm getting really far into the blade, the food will hit and just lift up. And without that, it will just keep sliding, hit your hand, which is, not every time, but it could be a little annoying. So that's my take on that. This is Chef Mark. Thanks for tuning in. As always, make sure you like, and subscribe.